Buck Sexton in for Glenn Beck today on the Glenn Beck program. We're joined now by Ann Coulter, who has tons of bestsellers, including Adios America and her latest, E Pluribus Awesome, In Trump We Trust. Ann, great to have you.
Great to be here, Buck.
So have you gotten tired yet of people telling you you were right? How did you know? All that sort of stuff. Do you have like a special mailbox you've set up just for all of that?
Not at all. Or in Trump's America, I wake up every day with a smile on my face.
What do you think of Trump going in to meet with all these media bigwigs yesterday, and from what the reports are, at least, giving them, I think, what you could call a piece of his mind?
It's fantastic. It's like Christmas every day. They really deserve it. The media has just decided to, or had decided to completely sacrifice its credibility. And what did they get out of it? They didn't elect Hillary anyway. I've never seen anything like this. I've read about the Goldwater era and the McCarthy era. It's nothing like what they threw at Trump. And then they have the audacity to sit back and say, oh, it's our fault. We created him. No, they lied nonstop. I mean, just to take two, and I have a lot of these in my book, In Trump We Trust, but two examples. One is the really vicious and ugly claim being made to this day that Donald Trump mocked a disabled man. As this website, I write about it in my book before these videos had come out, because I found it highly implausible, even without the rock-solid proof that it's a lie. For one thing, Trump was flailing his arms and his mouth was hanging open, and he had good reason to attack the reporter who denied his own reporting about Muslims celebrating the 9/11 attack. The Washington Post fact checker, just to give you the background, the Washington Post fact checker had given Donald Trump 4 Pinocchios for claiming Muslims in New Jersey celebrated after 9/11. Their position was absolutely no Muslims had celebrated. And then, slowly reports came in where there are provably hundreds of Muslims celebrating in New Jersey and the boroughs around New York. So that was, once again, the media pretending not to understand a figure of speech. I noticed they were doing it for something again today. If I say I called you 1,000 times, that doesn't literally mean 1,000 times. But from the Washington Post's own reporting, I mean, they put Glenn Kessler, Mr. Fact Checker at the Post, claimed he had put his whole team on this. But how do you prove the donut hole? There's nothing there. So Donald Trump produces an article from the Washington Post itself about a week after 9/11, saying that Muslims had celebrated in New Jersey, and the reporter of that article, to curry favor with his media bosses, denied his own reporting. Said that the report was not true. So that was the report he was attacking. But the point is, his disability is almost exactly the opposite of what Trump was doing. The reporter's wrists are locked in place. He's not epileptic. He doesn't flail around. And then Catholics for Truth came out. This is the proof positive that shows not only was the media lying, but they knew they were lying, and were going out of their way to hide their lies. Catholics for Truth put up these videos of Trump doing the exact same imitation in that same speech of a flustered general. There's another one of Trump doing the exact same imitation of a flustered Ted Cruz. He even does the exact same imitation of himself being flustered. And when Catholics for Truth posted this comment on a Washington Post article, this is the consciousness of guilt part, posted, actually, this is just how Donald Trump does a flustered person, as you can see in this video from the same speech. The Washington Post took that comment down. There was nothing offensive about it. There were no, anti-Semitic slurs or racism or anything. It was just.
You mean there weren't flustered generals? There weren't flustered generals all across the country who were saying, "How dare you?"
And that shows consciousness of guilt. They didn't want anyone to see that video. And much more quickly, I would just say, I mean, even liberals are now admitting the claim that Trump was saying, and it is repeated as if it's a fact to this day, that Trump was referring to Megyn Kelly's period when he said blood was coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever. You know, come on, in the same interview, he said essentially the same thing about Charles Krauthammer.
Wait, but and there's more recent media stuff that I want to ask you about, like the big meeting, the huge meeting of white nationalists in D.C. getting a lot of attention the last couple of days. I think they might have had enough for a full softball match.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Buck, this is so insane. These irrelevant people holding an irrelevant meeting. And by the way, with absolutely zero connection to Donald Trump or anyone on his team or anyone who might possibly be on his team. And this is covered like it is a serious, like it is a thing that he has to. The fact that he hasn't denounced it, I've seen on cable news, is evidence in and of itself that Trump isn't hard enough on white supremacists. It's
this is what they're saying.
We've got to start demanding denunciations from why isn't, I mean, Democrats are repeatedly endorsed by the Communist Party USA. They are repeatedly, when they run for president, endorsed by communist dictators. Willie Horton endorsed Michael Dukakis. My guess is he was voting for Hillary. Can we get endorsements or disavowals for all of that? It's just so crazy how they have to go. I mean, I'm not sure David Duke even exists, as I've written. I think he is, this is a myth, because the only time you hear about him is every 4 years when Democrats, or rather, the media demand that the Republican running for president disavow this irrelevant man.
Now, we have the Trump administration getting a fair amount of heat continuously from the media about not denouncing these kinds of things. I just want to know, do you think at some point they will tire of this? Because I thought that the protesters, the people that are already upset about a Trump administration that hasn't even come into being yet, I've actually walked through some of these protests where it seems like they just want to spew profanity and yell things about how Trump won. They're very upset. Do they get tired, or are we looking at 4 years of Trump is the reason for the rise of white nationalism? And, there was a conference of 50 of them. Didn't you hear about it somewhere? Is this ever going to get old for them, or is this the playbook?
Apparently it's not. I must say, Buck, at first I was a little bit worried. Don't criticize them too much because this is really not helping them. But no, I mean, I think we can make fun of them until the cows come home, and they will not stop. The Democratic Party moved from a normal political party to more of a elitist celebrity coastal lifestyle party about 30 years ago, and they really just do not care about getting votes from anyone who isn't already, a millennial or a celebrity. And you've probably talked to people, I've talked to people who, for various reasons, perhaps some of them were Democrats, some just didn't like Trump, didn't vote for Trump. And having seen the way the left is reacting, if they could vote now, they'd vote for Trump.
Yeah, the biggest advertisement for a Trump vote that I've yet come across is the way that everybody on the left has reacted in response to the Trump victory. Are you having any success, by the way, in calming people down? I live in New York. I know you spend a fair amount of time in New York. I have intelligent, well-intentioned friends who were very pro-Hillary, and they're actually afraid. And I keep trying to tell them, why are you afraid? What are you afraid of? It's going to be okay. I don't know what else to say.
I don't have the afraid ones. I do have the ones who didn't vote for Trump. But I think what will prove it in the end, and I have told, even random people I run into on the plane who will tell me they're afraid. That's where I run into the afraid ones. Don't worry. What is going to redeem Donald Trump, unless he doesn't pursue anything he was saying, and I don't think that's the case. I think we're getting a wall. He's already said he's going to scuttle these job-killing trade deals. I think if he pursues, half of his program, although I hope he's not listening because I want him to pursue 100% of it. But if he pursues half of it, it is going to be so great for the country. This is the Republican candidate or Democratic candidate. I've been waiting for my entire life, at least on the issues and the policies. That, you know, drop the obsession. And I love tax cuts. I think it's bad for the government to take so much of our money. It's very controlling, and I think people can spend it better. Don't get me wrong on this, but this Republican obsession with tax cuts as the be-all, end-all of a booming economy, you know, how does that help people without jobs? Meanwhile, we have lived in a country where middle-class and working-class wages have been flat or going down for the past 30 years. We have hollowed out the industrial base of America. We have the working class competing with both legal and illegal low-wage workers. Immigrants coming in, just to get, first let's get the jobs back. And I might add, I love that Trump did not come out for cutting entitlements, the passion of the Paul Ryan types. How about we start with not allowing immigrants to come in and immediately start collecting Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security and see how much money we have left over to pay for Americans who have paid into it their entire lives.
One more for you, Ann, then we'll let you go. I know you're busy. We're talking to Ann Coulter, author of In Trump We Trust, E Pluribus Awesome. What did you think about the little lecture that Hamilton gave Mike Pence over the weekend? And also, have you seen Hamilton, and what are your thoughts on it if you have?
I have not. I find it curious that we live in such a PC world that the only way we can honor the founders is if they're in blackface. We'll start with that, so I don't care about people telling me, oh, it's so great and it's historical. I wasn't all that interested in seeing it to begin with. And the lecture from the stage, this is exactly what I mean. They cannot learn. They're in this bubble. They will not reconsider because, wow, every place that guy goes, he's going to get a standing ovation. But, you know, I always think of it when you watch Hollywood movies, TV shows. One classic genre is the brave and righteous man against an angry mob, from To Kill a Mockingbird to Tina Fey's Mean Girls. But then whenever it comes to real life, look who the Mean Girls is. That isn't a dialogue. That isn't a political discussion. That is humiliating the vice president-elect in front of a cheering crowd. Liberals are always the mob. They are always the Mean Girls.
Ann Coulter, author of In Trump We Trust, E Pluribus Awesome, and Adios America. Ann, thanks for joining.
Good to talk to you, Buck. Bye-bye.